Hello and welcome to the Crimson Stitchery, a video channel about making all things that are beautiful and useful. My name is Anushka and you can find me elsewhere online as a Sourtelling, that's a Sourtelling, and that's my username on Instagram and on Ravelry as well, where we also have a Ravelry group. So in today's video I'm going to answer a question that quite a few of you guys have asked me, which is to tell you all about my sofa decorations. So recently we did a bit of renovations in the flat, we did a bit of repainting, so all of the home decor came down and went away to be protected from the paint, and now just before I put it all back I thought I'd take the opportunity to tell you all about them. So most, actually, if not all of the things on my sofa are handmade, if not by my hands then by somebody else's fair pair of hands. There's a little bit of vintage second-hand stuff and a little bit of a family heirloom as well, but I'll start with what's on top and what's most pressing, which is this crochet Hexagon's blanket. Now firstly, this is absolutely massive. Right, it's now covering me, so this is going to be a cozy episode, but it's only half, so it opens up again, and it's a little bit narrow, but it's very, very long, and that's just a mistake that I made while I was making this. So I made this crochet blanket circa late 2012, well into the end of 2013, and I made it purely because I just looked around in my yarn stash and I just had too much yarn. There were so many leftover balls of yarn from various different jumper projects that I'd made. Sometimes it tells you to buy a certain amount and they overestimate and you end up with 2, 3, sometimes even 4 extra balls according to the yardage. I must add that I very, very rarely use recommended yarn from the pattern, so I'm pretty much always substituting. I look at the meterage, and often, in the pattern they'll tell you the yardage, and then you convert it into another ball and you end up with more, or you have to buy more, and there was just so many leftovers and it was getting out of control. So I decided to do a crochet project. I actually recall quite clearly that I was suffering really badly from insomnia, and yeah, for some reason the only thing that seemed to satisfy that was to learn a new skill, which was crochet. Look, it's big. And yeah, so I chose this very simple crochet hexagon pattern, which uses a mixture of double crochet and treble, which in US crochet terms is single and double. It's super easy, and the thing about the crochet was that it was really portable, so I could, it's literally only this big, so I could even walk around and do it. I could stand up and do it commuting, do it while at work. So yeah, it's very, very colourful, it's very warm, it's pretty much 100% wool, maybe 90%. There's very little synthetic fibres or anything else. There's the odd ball of cotton. I can feel that this one here is cotton. This is a bit of mohair and silk that I held double. What else have we got? Shetland yarn, this one, that one's cotton too. There's some wool cotton blend. There's all sorts. The yarns on average were about DK weight, and it's really big. So crocheting the hexagons was really fun, and I could just whiz those out and then I'd just have a session where I'd sew in all of the ends, and that was that. But what took absolutely ages was actually joining all of the hexagons horizontally and then those long vertical crochet lines. That took ages. Of course, what tends to happen when you do scrappy projects is that what started off as something to use up all of the leftovers soon just ended up into very quickly becoming this monster project, and I actually had to buy loads of yarn because what I was producing wasn't the right size, or I wanted things with different colours and different tones in them so that it would all look lovely together. So I did that, although it started off as a scrap project to do loads of leftovers, actually I ended up spending quite a lot of money on it, and I just picked up oddballs here and there, and I really wanted to get all of these jewel tones with a few brights and some neutrals. So as you can imagine, if you're a viewer of the podcast, if you're a subscriber, I love bright colours. I'm really drawn to rich, strong jewel tones, but not so much neutral. So I bought all of these browns and oatmeals and beiges. You know, I had to purchase all of those to tone it down because I didn't want it to look too crazy. But overall, it's an absolutely gorgeous thing. It's lived on the sofa in a couple of different flats. It's lived at the end of the bed, and at the moment it functions as a guest blanket. So I do air it out, and then I give the guests a sheet to go underneath it so that it's, you know, hygienic and all of that. But yeah, that's my crochet blanket. Right, moving on to my pile of cushions. So let's just go through these one by one. This beautiful bright red crochet doily I found in a charity shop for something stupid like 19p. It's 100% cotton. I didn't dye it or anything. This is the colour that it came, and it was stunning, and I just had to have it. And I just sewed it onto this really boring plain sofa cushion that came with an old sofa. It's a bit grimy, to be honest with you, but it got spruced up by this gorgeous red doily. So I just sewed it on by hand, just kind of slip stitched around the edge and tacked it down. And it's this beautiful, you know, doily medallion kind of thing that I would never have had the patience to make on my own. Never, never, never. So that's that one. Then we've got this one. This isn't one that I made, and it's made using Crochet Flower Puffs Granny Square pattern. It's a little bit flat, but you get the idea. It's actually, normally it's really three-dimensional, but obviously it's a cushion, so we've been sitting on it. And it's a free pattern that's available online. And again, I made this out of leftovers. So this variegated marled pink and white flower is loads of leftovers from some socks. And then these are various different reds from, to be honest with you, I don't even know what projects they were from. Maybe from some baby garments that I made, because you know how people always have babies in batches, and well, about 15 years ago there was a massive batch of babies in my family, so and did that. Also, what happens to me quite a lot is that people hear that I'm a knitter, so they offload stuff onto me, and I just end up with loads of random balls. And when nowadays I tend to just say no thank you very much, but in the past I would just accept it all, and I just had so many random balls of wool from the 70s and 80s even hanging around in my stash, and a lot of the time they were 100% wool, and gorgeous colours like this fabulous crimson or this really bright red. So that was that. Yeah, the white again is all leftovers. This amazing indigo blue. I only had one ball. Again, it was a vintage 1970s cotton. I only had one ball, and it was only enough even to do the joining of the cushion. That took a whole 50-gram ball of cotton. So that's the front, and then we have, ta-da, the back. So the back is really, really fun, and in many ways I love it even more than the front. It's super 1970s. Again, all different leftovers. Some of them are from this side. I might have had to buy a ball of white. I feel like I recall having to purchase a ball of white cotton because I ran out. And completely random chevron zigzag pattern that I absolutely love, and I really like the fact that it's a little bit of a surprise, because this side is, you know, it's quite girly and it's quite feminine and it sort of borders on twee almost, and then you flip it over and it's really, really bright and colourful, and it reminds me of like 1970s upholstery, the really thick types of poochie patterns, or what you might find inside a car or a bus, or maybe upholstered on those Urkel dining chairs. So yeah, this is definitely my favourite cushion. Next in the pile we've got this one. Very, very simple. It's pink cotton velvet with a short pile, bright pink, got these black pom-pom trims, and then a grey cotton velvet with some grey bottoms that were just from my stash, so nothing simple, but that unbuttons to let out the cushion. So it's quite nice to have this button detail on it, and it's very, very bold. And then the pink was like a scrap of fabric from an old workplace when I was tidying up. It was literally a scrap, so I just, I took it home and I cut a square, the biggest square that I could make out of the scrap, because it was like all jaggedy all around the edges. And then again, the dark grey was a scrap from something at home. I reupholstered a chair seat and I used the leftovers. And so I think that's probably why it was cut actually with this fastening. It was probably something to do with using up leftovers, because I didn't have a full square. So yeah, I just made it in 2 pieces and then just inserted some pom-pom trim. So again, if you're a podcast viewer, you'll have an idea about how much I just love colour and pattern and just brightness and busyness, and I'm the type of person that will wear, you know, 4 types of patterns at once. I'll have like a floral, a stripe, maybe a bit of spot, and then like a dash of leopard print as well. So in a way it was quite good to have a neutral cushion on my sofa. And then I've got 2 more to talk about. Let's do this one first. So this one is quite a trad looking rose made out of tapestry. I think it's called crewel work, where it's not cross stitch, it just goes over once into the diagonal and doesn't cross back over. It's got a bright orange cotton back, and it's yeah, it's a really nice piece of work. It's certainly handmade. It's stuffed with feathers, so we have to be careful about this one because there's quite a few people with feather allergies in my vicinity, let's say. And I love the colours. It's done really nicely, and I found this in Copenhagen in a charity shop. There's a charity shop right in the middle of Copenhagen on the main shopping street near the Round Tower, and I can't resist a charity shop, especially when I'm abroad. So that one in particular, it's actually quite an expensive charity shop, but this cushion was probably about £5 or something like that, and so it wasn't very much. But yeah, so then a charity shop where they, because it's in the middle of town, they price things, you know, according to maybe quite an upmarket clientele, or maybe it's just expensive because it's Copenhagen and it's a really expensive city. But this was really cheap, and I loved it. I love the colours, and I remember feeling like, oh, I really want to bring something home with me, but everything, you know, is so costly. I can't afford anything, and also at the time I didn't have a permanent accommodation, so actually it was a bit stupid that I bought a cushion, but I did. And I like stuffed. I only had a backpack, so I stuffed it into my hand luggage and just brought it back with me on the aeroplane. And when did I visit Copenhagen? That was in spring 2013, so 6 years ago now, and this is pretty old, so it's great that it's had like a whole new lease of life. And again, it's followed me around into various different apartments that I've rented and now that I live in permanently, which is fab. Lastly, we've got this little darling beast, and this one is patchwork. It's very, very faded and it's seen better days. The pink is a bit more jolly. Lots of florals going on here. It's all 100% cotton. It's got a metal zip on the side. And this cushion is very precious. I nicked it from my grandmother, like I nick quite a lot of things. I've nicked like, you know, other home furnishings like linen napkins and tea towels and spatulas and all of that kind of stuff when I moved house. Nicked loads of stuff of her because she had like triplicate of nearly everything, and this cushion also came home with me, which I don't think that she intended to happen, but hey ho, it's mine now. So this is really precious, and it was made by my great grandmother, so my grandma's mum, and she really was a fiend at patchwork. She did so much patchwork, and she was born, and my great-grandmother was born and lived all of her life in a village in the south of Malaysia, which means that my grandma was a third-generation Malaysian-born Chinese person, and I am a third-generation British-born Chinese heritage person. So me and my grandma share quite a lot in common. And yeah, this was made by her mum, who was Malaysia-born, and I just have so many memories from my childhood going to the village and seeing my great-grandmother while she was alive. She was always in a little corner in the living room at a black Singer sewing machine with gold ornate patterning on it. I can't remember if it was electricity, the sewing machine was electric or not. I seem to recall that there was a wheel that you had to wind up and use with the foot pedal, but to be honest with you, I might be romanticising that and kind of projecting back onto my memory about what I know about Singer sewing machines. But anyway, it's a black Singer, you know, cast iron, really heavy, just solid, imprinted into the table. And she'd patchwork everything. She did all sorts of cushions and blankets. The only thing I will say about Malaysia is that it's really gorgeous that this is 100% cotton, but most of the patchwork stuff that she made was very brightly coloured printed polyester fabrics, and in Malaysia they really loved polyester. You know, you would kind of assume, oh, tropical equatorial heat, it will be all about cotton and linen. But actually everybody loves polyester because it's so humid out there. If you have something cotton, like this is a cotton dress, it would take so long to dry because of the humidity in the air, whereas polyester, you just get it out of the wash and give it a shake, like hang it on the line for a bit, and then it's bone dry. So, you know, you would make the assumption that polyester would be really sweaty and that no one would want to wear it, but actually, like, most of my grandmother's really intricate and super colourful patchwork blankets were all made out of polyester fabrics with really brightly printed flowers. And if you think of those kind of 70s swirly psychedelic kind of prints, lots of browns and oranges and deep pinks and beiges, all of, yeah, just think about 1970s wallpaper transferred onto patchwork blankets. And that's what we used to sleep underneath as well when we visited them, these polyester patchwork blankets, and it was like, oh, they're so intricate, it would have taken hours for her to make them, and then it kind of doesn't feel particularly nice. I think that those blankets probably still exist, and maybe I'll investigate if I go there in the near future. But I guess one thing about polyester is that it's going to last forever, like it's going to last for hundreds and hundreds of years. Whereas this patchwork cushion, it's already starting to fray, so I'm going to have to do a tiny little repair. Yeah, the fabric is literally shredding away. So yeah, this bit of repair work. Meanwhile, indestructible synthetic blankets elsewhere. Yeah, so that's it for today. I hope that you've enjoyed this little video tour of my home furnishings and decorations. Everything here, as I said, was handmade by someone. Oh, this zebra thing is no big deal. This was just bought from a high street shop for far too little, and this is probably polyester, to be honest with you. But yeah, so, you know, anonymous vintage doily that I sewed on with my hands, my great-grandmother's cushion, my cushion, scrap crochet blanket, the huge endeavour with leftovers from a whole bunch of knitted garments and accessories that I made for myself and my family, and then we've got the anonymous Danish lady and her crewel work here on the rose. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this shorter video. Let me know what you think in the comments. How do you dress your sofa? Do you also have lots of handmade stuff, or are you a little bit more, let's say, trend conscious than I am? I'm just kind of like yeah, I'm a collector. I think let's leave it at that. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it and subscribe it in the down bar below. And you can find links to my social media and also my Ravelry group in the down bar below this video on YouTube. Thank you, and see you soon.